My name is Michael Donovan, and I'm a 37-year-old IT technician from Asheville, North Carolina. For as long as I can remember, my life was the very definition of ordinary. I lived in a modest two-bedroom house with my wife, Grace, and our two children, Lily and Ethan. Weekdays were a predictable rhythm of work, school drop-offs, and family dinners. Weekends meant yard work, grocery runs, and the occasional movie night. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable, comforting even. As I sat at my desk each day troubleshooting software glitches and answering calls, I often daydreamed about what my life might have been if I'd taken bigger risks. But I would always remind myself that there was no shame in providing for my family and being steady. Ordinary is safe, I'd think to myself, ignoring the faint longing for something more. That longing never felt urgent until one sunny afternoon in early September. The day began like any other. I woke up at 6:30 a.m., made coffee while the kids got ready for school, and waved them off as Grace drove them to their classes. By 8 a.m., I was sitting on our worn, plaid sofa with my laptop open, preparing for another day of remote work. The house was quiet, save for the hum of the refrigerator and the soft chirping of birds outside. As I scrolled through emails, sipping my coffee, an unsettling weight began to press against my chest. At first, I brushed it off as heartburn, maybe too much caffeine. But then the pressure grew, sharp and unrelenting, making it hard to breathe. I remember clutching my chest as a searing pain radiated down my left arm. My vision blurred, and the world around me seemed to tilt. I tried to call out, but the words caught in my throat. The last thing I saw before everything went dark was the family photo on the wall, the one we'd taken at a park last summer. And then nothing. It wasn't the kind of nothing I'd imagined death to be, black, empty void. Instead, it felt like being pulled through a veil, weightless and untethered. The sounds of the world faded into silence, replaced by a hum that resonated deep within my chest. It wasn't frightening, though. It was strangely comforting, like a lullaby I couldn't quite place. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in my living room anymore. I was standing in the middle of a vast meadow, bathed in a light so pure and warm it seemed to seep into my very being. The grass beneath my feet wasn't just green. It shimmered with hues I'd never seen before, colors that seemed to shift and dance with every breath I took. The air was thick with a fragrance I couldn't identify, something between blooming flowers and fresh rain, and it filled me with a peace I didn't know I had been craving. I turned slowly, taking in the surreal beauty of the landscape. In the distance, a river sparkled like liquid crystal, and the sky above was a canvas of gold and lavender, as if the sun were forever setting. There was no sense of time here, no ticking clock or looming deadlines. Just stillness, vast and unbroken. I took a hesitant step forward, and as I did, the hum in the air seemed to grow louder, more harmonious. It wasn't just a sound, it was alive, a vibration that I could feel in every fiber of my being. It was as though the very essence of this place was welcoming me, embracing me in ways words could never capture. I didn't know where I was or how I had gotten here, but one thing was clear. This was not a dream. The details were too vivid, too sharp. The ground beneath my feet felt real. The air filling my lungs was real, and the emotions welling up inside me, joy, awe, and an unshakable sense of belonging, were unlike anything I had ever known. Something was pulling me forward, a gentle but undeniable force. I didn't resist. I couldn't. Every step felt purposeful, as if this place itself was guiding me towards something I was meant to see, something I was meant to understand. If you're enjoying this story and want to be part of a growing community that explores life's most profound mysteries, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Together, we can uncover the truths that inspire, uplift, and connect us all. I continued walking, drawn by the unexplainable pull guiding me through this radiant land. Every step I took seemed to heighten my senses. The ground beneath me felt soft and warm, humming faintly, as if alive. The colors around me shimmered with an intensity that defied comprehension, and the air carried a melodic vibration, as though the entire realm was singing. Then I heard a voice. It wasn't loud, but it resonated with a weight that stopped me in my tracks. It was gentle yet commanding, carrying an authority that seemed to bypass my ears and speak directly to my soul. "Welcome, friend." I turned around, my heart pounding in a way that was both exhilarating and calming. Standing a few paces away was a man unlike anyone I had ever seen. His jet black hair glistened as though it had been polished under the radiant sky, and his smile exuded warmth and knowing. There was something about his presence, something familiar yet extraordinary. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Then, the realization hit me like a wave, and I stammered, "You're Elvis Presley." He chuckled, a rich, genuine sound that seemed to blend with the melodies in the air. "Last time I checked," he said with a wink, extending a hand toward me. "And you must be new here. Welcome." I reached out, hesitantly at first, and shook his hand. It felt real, solid, warm, and alive. This was no illusion. The man standing before me was the same iconic figure I had seen countless times in photos and films. But here, he wasn't just an image from history. He was real, and his presence carried a weight that was impossible to ignore. I don't understand," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "How is this possible? Are you really you?" He nodded, his expression kind but serious. "It's me, all right. Though up here, things are a little different. Titles, fame, all that, it doesn't mean much anymore. What matters here is the soul. And trust me, there's a lot you're about to learn." As we began walking together, the landscape around us seemed to shift subtly, becoming even more breathtaking. Rolling fields of golden grass stretched endlessly, dotted with flowers that glowed softly in the twilight. Rivers sparkled like diamonds, their gentle currents adding a soothing rhythm to the air. "Why are you here?" I finally asked, unable to contain my curiosity. "Why am I here?" He glanced at me, his eyes twinkling with a wisdom that seemed to pierce through my uncertainty. "Everyone who finds themselves here has something they're meant to understand, something they're meant to carry forward. You'll figure it out in time." I wanted to press further, to demand answers, but his calm demeanor disarmed me. Instead, I let him guide the conversation. "I wasn't born into fame," he began, his voice carrying the same magnetic charm that had captivated millions. "My family was dirt poor. We lived in a tiny, two-room house in Tupelo, Mississippi. There were times we didn't know where our next meal would come from." He paused, a faint smile crossing his lips. "But music was my escape. It was my lifeline. I poured everything I had into it." His words were laced with passion, and I could feel the weight of his story. "People see the glitter, the fame," he continued, "but they don't see the struggle behind it. The nights I spent practicing until my fingers bled, the rejection I faced before anyone believed in me. But I never gave up. That's the thing about life. You can't give up, no matter how hard it gets." I was captivated. Here was a man who had been elevated to mythic status, sharing his struggles with me in the most human way possible. "How did you handle it?" I asked. "The fame, the pressure. How did you keep going?" His expression turned somber, and he looked ahead as if recalling distant memories. "It wasn't easy," he admitted. "There were times when I felt like I was losing myself, like the person I was becoming wasn't the person I wanted to be. But I held on to my faith, to the people I loved, and even when I stumbled, I tried to do right by others. That's what kept me grounded." As we walked, the scenery around us seemed to respond to his words, growing even more vibrant and alive. The flowers glowed brighter, the rivers sang louder, and the sky deepened into a richer hue of twilight. "Elvis," I began hesitantly, "why are you telling me all this?" He stopped and turned to face me, his eyes serious yet kind. "Because you need to understand that life isn't about what you take, it's about what you give. Every act of kindness, every moment of generosity, it all matters more than you can imagine." His words sank deep into my heart, leaving me with a sense of clarity I hadn't felt before. This wasn't just a conversation, it was a revelation, and I knew it was only the beginning of what this place had in store for me. Elvis and I continued walking through the ethereal landscape, the beauty of which seemed to grow with every step. The air itself carried a sense of purpose, as though the very atmosphere was alive and guiding us towards something profound. The hum that had accompanied me earlier now felt like a symphony, blending seamlessly with the faint melodies of rivers, rustling grass, and distant whispers. I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of peace, but with it came an undercurrent of anticipation, as if I were standing on the edge of a great revelation. "Elvis," I said, breaking the silence, "is this heaven?" He smiled, his expression both warm and enigmatic. "It's not quite what you might have imagined, is it? This place, it's more than a destination. It's a bridge, a space where understanding begins. Heaven is more than a location. It's a state of being, one that transforms as you grow." His words left me with more questions than answers, but I sensed that this journey wasn't about receiving simple explanations. It was about discovery, about peeling back the layers of existence to reveal truths I'd never considered. As we walked, the scenery began to change. The golden meadows gave way to rolling hills crowned with crystalline trees. Their leaves shimmered like diamonds, casting rainbows across the ground. In the distance, I could see a towering structure that seemed to pulse with light, its edges shifting as if it were made of living energy. "What is that?" I asked, pointing toward the structure. "That," Elvis said, his tone reverent, "is a place of reflection. Many souls come here to see their lives as they truly were, stripped of illusions and falsehoods. It's not always easy, but it's necessary." A chill ran through me, despite the warmth of the air. "See their lives? You mean everything?" He nodded, his expression growing serious. "Every choice, every action, every word. This place reveals the ripple effects of your existence, the lives you touched for better or worse. It's not about judgment. It's about understanding." As we drew closer to the structure, I felt a strange mix of curiosity and apprehension. The light emanating from it was almost blinding, yet I couldn't look away. It wasn't just light, it was alive, carrying an energy that seemed to resonate with my very soul. "Elvis," I said, my voice trembling slightly, "have you been here?" He stopped walking and turned to face me, his eyes reflecting both pain and wisdom. "I have," he said softly. "It wasn't easy. Seeing my life laid bare, it was humbling. There were things I wasn't proud of, choices I wish I could take back. But there were also moments of grace, acts of love that I didn't even realize had mattered so much." "What did you learn?" I asked, unable to hide the urgency in my voice. "That redemption is always possible," he replied. "No matter how far you've strayed, there's a way back. But it starts with truth, with facing yourself and the impact you've had on the world." His words struck a chord deep within me, stirring memories of my own life. I thought of the times I had been impatient with my children, the harsh words I had spoken to Grace in moments of frustration, the friends I had lost touch with because I was too consumed by work. What would this place show me about the life I had lived? Before I could ask, the landscape shifted again. The towering structure seemed to fade into the background, replaced by a serene lake surrounded by towering trees. Their branches intertwined above us, forming a canopy that filtered the golden light into soft, dancing patterns on the ground. We approached the lake, and as we did, I noticed something remarkable. The water wasn't just clear, it was reflective in a way that seemed unnatural. Looking into it, I didn't just see my face, I saw moments from my life. There I was, holding Lily as a newborn, her tiny fingers gripping mine. There I was, laughing with Grace on our wedding day, the world around us blurring in the joy of the moment. But then, darker memories emerged. Arguments, regrets, times when I had chosen work over family or ignored someone in need because I was too busy. The reflections weren't accusing. They were simply showing me the truth, raw and unfiltered. Elvis stood beside me, his gaze fixed on the water. "It's not easy, is it?" he said, his voice gentle. "No," I admitted, my throat tight. "It's overwhelming." He placed a hand on my shoulder, his touch grounding me. "The truth often is. But remember, this isn't the end of the story. Every moment you've seen here is part of a greater picture, one you're still painting. What matters is what you do with what you've learned, As his words sank in, I felt a shift within me. The apprehension began to fade, replaced by a determination I couldn't quite explain. I didn't fully understand what this place was or why I had been brought here, but I knew one thing. I wasn't the same person who had collapsed on that sofa back in Asheville. And somehow, I knew this was only the beginning. The air around the lake felt charged, as though the very atmosphere was alive with anticipation. Elvis and I stood side by side, gazing into the reflective water that seemed to hold fragments of my life. Each image that appeared, whether joyous or sorrowful, felt like a message, a piece of a puzzle I was only beginning to comprehend. This lake, Elvis said, breaking the silence, is a place of revelation. It doesn't just show you what was, it helps you understand why. I looked at him, my mind swirling with questions. Why am I seeing these moments? What am I supposed to do with them? He smiled, a gentle yet knowing expression that seemed to radiate both wisdom and compassion. Because understanding is the first step to transformation. You can't move forward until you've truly seen where you've been. His words resonated deeply, and I turned back to the water. The reflections shifted again, revealing a moment I had almost forgotten. I was sitting at my desk late at night, the glow of my computer screen casting long shadows across the room. Grace appeared in the doorway, her face etched with concern. "Are you coming to bed?" she had asked softly. "Just a few more minutes," I had replied, not even looking up. I watched as the scene unfolded, her shoulders slumping as she walked away. The memory cut deeper than I expected, not because of what was said, but because of what wasn't. I didn't realize, I began, my voice trailing off. "That's the thing about life," Elvis said, his tone thoughtful. "We're so caught up in what we think matters that we miss the moments that truly do. But here, you have the chance to see them, to make sense of it all." The lake shifted again, showing me another memory. This time, I was with Ethan at a soccer game. He was beaming, holding a trophy high above his head. I remembered the pride I had felt in that moment, the joy of seeing him so happy. "Not everything is regret," Elvis added, as if reading my thoughts. "The good matters just as much as the bad. It's all part of the same story." The scenes continued to play out, each one a thread in the tapestry of my life. I saw moments of kindness, helping a neighbor fix their fence, comforting Lily when she was scared of a storm. And I saw moments of failure, missed opportunities to connect, harsh words spoken in anger. "What now?" I asked, turning to Elvis. "How do I make sense of all this?" He gestured toward the lake, his eyes filled with quiet conviction. "The lake shows you the truth, but the understanding comes from within. What you choose to take from this, how you let it change you. That's what matters." I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of clarity begin to settle over me. The weight of my regrets was still there, but it was tempered by the knowledge that I could do better, be better. Elvis placed a hand on my shoulder, his grip firm but comforting. "You're not alone in this. None of us are. The path forward isn't about perfection. It's about growth, about becoming the person you were meant to be." As his words settled into my heart, I felt a surge of gratitude, not just for this place or this moment, but for the opportunity to reflect, to learn, and to move forward with purpose. If this story is touching your heart and reminding you of what truly matters, don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts by commenting below. Join us in this beautiful journey of faith and reflection. Your participation is a blessing to our community. As Elvis and I walked away from the lake, the air around us seemed to shift again. The serene stillness gave way to a faint breeze, carrying with it the sound of distant bells. The landscape, once golden and radiant, now took on richer, deeper hues, emerald greens, sapphire blues, and a horizon streaked with fiery orange and crimson, as if the sky itself was alive with passion. "What now?" I asked, unsure of where this journey was leading me. Elvis looked ahead, his expression thoughtful. "Now comes the part where you start to see why you're here. This place isn't just about reflection, it's about revelation. You've been shown your life for a reason, and it's time to understand what that reason is." His words filled me with equal parts anticipation and apprehension. I wanted answers, but I wasn't sure I was ready for them. We came upon a path that seemed to stretch endlessly in both directions, lined with trees whose leaves shimmered like molten gold. In the center of the path stood a figure, shrouded in light so brilliant it was almost blinding. The figure exuded a presence that was both comforting and overwhelming, and as we approached, I felt an inexplicable pull toward it. The figure spoke, but not with words. Its voice resonated within me, filling my mind and soul with a warmth that was both familiar and otherworldly. "Michael," it said, addressing me directly, "you have been brought here not just to see, but to understand. Your life has meaning beyond what you've known, and your purpose is greater than you've imagined." I froze, the weight of its words sinking in. "My purpose?" I asked aloud, my voice trembling. "Yes," the figure replied. "Every choice you've made, every moment you've lived, has led you here. The love you've given, the kindness you've shown, and even the mistakes you've made, they are all threads in the tapestry of your existence. But now, it is time for you to weave those threads into something greater." Elvis stepped forward, his presence grounding me in this surreal moment. "You've seen glimpses of this already," he said. "The reflections, the memories, they're all part of a bigger picture. But now, it's about moving forward. It's about choosing what kind of legacy you want to leave." The figure extended a hand, and as it did, a series of images flooded my mind. I saw myself helping a stranger on the side of the road, comforting my children in moments of fear, and offering a listening ear to a friend in need. But I also saw a vision of something I hadn't yet experienced, a moment where my words brought hope to a crowd of people, their faces illuminated with newfound faith. "What is this?" I asked, my voice filled with awe. "It is your potential," the figure answered. "Your life is not over, Michael. You still have the chance to become the person you were always meant to be, to love, to give, to inspire. But it will require courage, faith, and a willingness to trust in something greater than yourself." The weight of the message was almost too much to bear, but beneath the gravity, I felt a glimmer of hope. My life wasn't just a series of random events. It was a journey, and this was a turning point. Elvis placed a hand on my shoulder, his expression one of quiet encouragement. "It's not about being perfect," he said. "It's about trying. Every day, every moment. You have the chance to choose love over fear, faith over doubt. That's what matters." I turned back to the figure, my resolve beginning to solidify. "What do I need to do?" "Live with purpose," it replied. "Let your actions reflect the love you've been shown here. Share what you've seen, what you've felt. And remember, you are never alone in this journey." The figure's light began to dim, and as it faded, I felt a surge of clarity and determination. This was more than a lesson. It was a mission, one that I was meant to carry back to the world I had left behind. The horizon stretched endlessly before us, painted with hues of gold and violet that seemed to pulse with life. Every step I took alongside Elvis felt purposeful, as though the very ground beneath us was guiding me towards something inevitable. The clarity I had felt moments ago was now interwoven with a quiet but insistent question. How would I bring this experience back to the world I knew? Elvis walked in silence for a while, his expression contemplative. It was as if he knew the weight of the thoughts swirling in my mind, but was waiting for me to voice them. Finally, I broke the silence. "What if I'm not strong enough?" I asked. "What if I fail?" He stopped and turned to face me, his gaze steady and filled with compassion. "Michael," he began, "strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up. It's about choosing to try, even when it feels impossible." His words struck a chord deep within me, stirring a determination I hadn't realized I possessed. "But how do I know I'm ready?" I asked. Elvis smiled, his expression warm and reassuring. "You're here, aren't you? That means you've already begun. And remember, you're not alone. None of us are." The path we were on began to shift, the vibrant landscape giving way to something more familiar. The golden meadows transformed into rolling hills dotted with trees, and in the distance, I saw a small, shimmering river. The air carried a sense of anticipation, as though the entire realm was preparing me for what came next. As we approached the river, I noticed a figure standing by its edge. They were bathed in light, their presence both commanding and comforting. It was the same figure I had seen earlier, the one who had shown me my potential. "Michael," the figure said, their voice resonating within me, "the time has come for you to return. Your journey here was not just for you. It was for the world you left behind. There are people waiting for the love and wisdom you've gained here." My heart raced at the thought of leaving this place, this sanctuary of peace and understanding. But what if I forget? What if the world's noise drowns out everything I've learned? The figure stepped closer, their light enveloping me in warmth. "You won't forget," they assured me. "The truth you've seen here is part of you now. Carry it with you in your actions, your words, your love. Let it guide you." Elvis placed a hand on my shoulder, grounding me in the moment. "And when the world feels too heavy, remember this place. Remember that you're part of something bigger, something beautiful." I took a deep breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. I wasn't sure what awaited me back in the world, but I knew I couldn't turn back. This was my calling, my purpose. As the light around us began to shift, I felt a pull, a gentle yet undeniable force drawing me away. The figure raised their hand in a gesture of blessing, their voice echoing softly as everything around me began to fade. "Go with love, Michael, and know that you are never alone." If this story has inspired you or touched your heart, join our growing community by subscribing to the channel and liking this video. Together, we can continue exploring the mysteries of faith, love, and life. We'd love to have you with us on this journey. When I opened my eyes, I was back in my bed. The familiar surroundings of my room were almost jarring after the surreal beauty of the place I had just left. The hum of the ceiling fan, the faint scent of Grace's perfume lingering in the air. It all felt so ordinary, yet profoundly different. I sat up slowly, the memories of my journey still vivid in my mind. Every detail, the shimmering lake, the glowing trees, Elvis's reassuring words, remained etched in my soul as though they had been branded there. Grace entered the room, her expression a mix of relief and worry. "Michael," she said softly, rushing to my side, "you're awake. Are you okay? You scared us so much." I reached for her hand, holding it tightly as tears welled in my eyes. "I'm more than okay," I said, my voice steady but full of emotion. "I have so much to tell you." Over the next few days, I recounted my experience to Grace, to my children, and to anyone who would listen. I didn't share to boast or seek attention. I shared to inspire, to remind people that life is so much more than we often realize. I began to notice changes within myself. I was more patient, more present. The little annoyances that used to consume me, traffic, work deadlines, the occasional tantrum from Ethan or Lily, now felt insignificant compared to the beauty and purpose I had glimpsed. But more than that, I felt a calling, a deep, unshakable conviction that I was meant to share this message with the world. Not as someone extraordinary, but as someone who had been shown extraordinary truths. Every day, I reminded myself of what Elvis had said. Strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up, and every day, I tried to live with intention, to let love guide my actions and choices. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and cast a golden glow over our backyard, I stood watching my children play. The laughter of Ethan and Lily filled the air, and for the first time in a long time, I felt completely at peace. Grace came to stand beside me, slipping her arm around my waist. "You seem different," she said, her voice full of warmth. "I am," I replied, my gaze fixed on the horizon. "And I think this is just the beginning. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. If this story has touched your heart, don't stop here. Click on the video appearing on your screen right now for a revelation that could change your life. Together, as a community, we can continue exploring these powerful truths and deepen our connection to what truly matters."